What do we got? 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. A, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 3. B. Okay, line segments today and how to find the length of them. Okay, that's what we're going to do. Look at part B. We talked about this on Friday. I just dropped the line segment symbol. What am I asking for now? Length. I'm not going to tell you that on Thursday's quiz. I'm just going to write it like that. Find AB. You go, oh, he dropped the line segment symbol, so he wants me to find the length. Pretty easy on this one, hopefully. If you can count to 10, you can find the length of that line segment, right? Okay, so just count it up real quick. How long is AB? Let's hear from 12. 5 units. Yep, no big deal. 5 units. Okay, let's do it again for line segment CD. So graph -3, 1 and -3, -2. Again, not that big of a deal. If you look at D, find CD without the line segment. Hey, he's asking me for the length. So how long is CD? 2.
3 units.
3 units. Got it. Everyone's good? Okay, that's not a big deal. I'm not impressed by that. What happens when I can't count now? Right? What happens when I can't count it? Welcome to EF. Okay, go ahead and graph EF, and you'll see right away after you graph it, ooh, I can't count this one, so what do I do instead? Okay, everyone agrees, not counting that. It's not vertical, not horizontal, so I can't count it. No chance you're counting. So I need another device. There's 2 other things you could do. I'm going to show you one way that I'd like you to go with, but there is an alternative option. Usually some kids know it before I even say it. Anybody have a method of trying to find the length of EF? Yep. Okay, I need a right triangle from that. Explain how I can get a right triangle.
I just think draw kind of.
Please don't copy this down. I'm just showing you what we're talking about here. So you make a right triangle out of this. I can make a horizontal line over and a vertical line over. Can you count those lines I just drew in? Yeah, one's 2, and the other is 4. So I could go 2 squared plus 4 squared equals c squared and solve it for Pythagorean theorem. That's one way. Okay, and will I allow you to do that? Absolutely. I'm not a big fan of Pythag, and here's why. As these numbers increase, it's harder and harder to graph it. So let's say this was 200, 100, 450, 560. You're not graphing that, are you? Okay, so that's why. Can you use Pythag? I'm good with it. I'll give you 100% credit every time if you want to use it. All right, but as the numbers get bigger, it gets more and more difficult to use Pythag. So here is the method I'm going to show you today. If you want to find the length of any line segment on a graph, you can use what's called the distance formula. Distance formula. Here it is. Here's the distance formula. Lowercase d for distance. Here we go. It is a big square root, and we're going to put a lot of things underneath it now. Underneath the square root, you have 2 sets of parentheses that you're going to add together. 2 sets of parentheses. Those parentheses will be squared. So I add the 2 parentheses together. The parentheses are squared. Now, what do I put inside them? Let me ask you a quick question. Are you familiar with what the 2 is called in 2, 1? That's your what coordinate? X. And the 1 would be called the? Okay, good. So you're familiar with that, because that's exactly what I'm going to put underneath the parentheses. I am going to subtract the x coordinates in 1. So I'm going to do x2 minus x1. That's not squared. That's down below, called a subscript. And you guys are in honors. Wild guess what I'm going to do in the second parenthesis. I'm going to subtract my y values. Yep. Now, before I do that on EF, I have a quick discussion with you. Will it matter if I do 2 minus 4 or 4 minus 2 in the distance formula? Will that affect my answer, the order I subtract them? Will it affect the answer? What's 2 minus 4? Hey, anytime you square a number, negative number, what happens? Thank you. So what's negative 2 squared? 4 minus 2 squared. Do you guys, all 28 of you, do you need to worry about the order you subtract them? No. So at least that's off your plate. You don't need to worry about the order. But you do have to have the x's together, and you do have to have the y's together. Go back to EF. Let's do this. Let's find the distance of EF. You don't have to put lowercase d anymore. We know the segments. EF. Should I put the line segment above it? No, why not? I'm finding the distance of it, so leave it. Here we go. Inside the first parenthesis, the x values squared. I already went over this, but just to make sure we're good. 22, what are my x values of E and F? So 2 minus 4, all squared, plus, do the y values now. We just proved order doesn't matter. So what are my y values you want me to subtract? 12. 1 minus 5, all squared. There it is. You've plugged in. Now we figure out the result. I call it plug and chug. You plug in your numbers, chug away for the result. Parentheses go first, right? Order of operations, 2 minus 4, negative 2 squared. We already went over, that's 4. All right, what about the next one? 1 minus 5. Oh boy.
Negative 4.
Negative 4. Squared.
16.
Hey! These two numbers should never be what? Negative. Because you're squaring. You should never get a negative number after you square. So these two numbers and any distance formula problem we do, never negative. Something went wrong. You went wrong. User error. Next. Add them. Do not take the square root. We add them together and get 20. Now, you're in what class? Darn right. So it's highly unlikely in this class. I'm just going to have you go to your calculator, plug in square root of 20, and give me this crappy decimal here. Highly unlikely. Maybe if I'm feeling good one day, I'll say round to the nearest 10. All the directions in this honors level class will be take your radical and leave it in simplest radical form. So we need to take a trip back to the middle school, 8th grade last year, and review how do I do simplest radical form. Hopefully you all are exposed to it. Last period was. You both went to the same middle school. Simplest radical form, yes, no? Break down a radical? Okay, I'll go slow through this, but I'm just letting you know this is the expectation in here. Simplest radical form. Okay? Here we go. You take your radical, whatever you got, and you break it up into two different ones. This is how we simplify a radical. You will put two numbers underneath that multiply to 20, but not of your choosing. Not of your choosing. Underneath the first one, here's a vocabulary term. We'll go a perfect square. Uh-oh. A perfect square? What do I mean by that? Got any examples of numbers that are perfect squares?
16. 4. 9.
Great job. Great job. Others?
81. 49.
144.
Well, relax. Showing off. Showing off, yes. Now, you don't have to memorize these. Anybody know where I got these numbers from? What am I going to get here?
4.
What am I going to get here?
9.
What am I going to get here?
16.
You just square any number and you get a perfect square. Okay? So if no need to memorize, just start squaring numbers and you get perfect squares. All right, let's go back to my 20 now. Biggest one that goes into 20 evenly. Evenly. I know 16 is the biggest one, but what's the problem? It doesn't go in evenly. It's got to go in evenly. So yes, 4 And now the second number's got to be the number that gives you 20. There you go. Biggest perfect square that goes into your number, and then the other one is whatever multiplies to it. All right, let's finish this problem off. Square root of 4.
2.
Bring the radical 5, other radical with it. There it is, EF in simplest radical form. All right? All of the problems we do, most of the problems we do in here will be simplest radical form, breaking it down. Well, we're going to break down another one here in the next problem, but before we do that, any questions? And I want to go over one other thing. And this was a mistake that happened last period with some of your friends, your honors friends, that I don't want happen in this class. Let's say your final, ready? You do distance formula, and underneath the radical is radical 81. What's your answer?
9.
Okay, you don't need to break that down. That's what I'm trying to get at. Everyone was trying to break it down. I was like, what are we doing here? Answer's 9. I'm done. Okay, so think if there's already a perfect square underneath, you don't break it down. You just tell me the darn answer. All good? Okay, one doesn't make you great. Let's keep grinding. Find the distance of RS in simplest radical form. You don't need a graph. If you want to use Pythag, use Pythag. All right, I'm not a Pythag fan, as you know, because if the numbers get bigger, I'm in a mess. So here we go. Distance of RS. Ooh, now I did negative numbers. Nobody panic. Now I'm throwing negative coordinates at you. All right, let's do the x coordinates subtracted. What are they? 5. What are my x coordinates subtracted? No. Just give me the numbers. I don't need you to do the math.
-2 minus 6.
Okay. -2 minus 6. Everyone's in agreement? Squared. Plus. Give me the y coordinates. 7.
6 and -2.
Okay. I'm glad you gave me those in those orders, in that order. Here's another thing that drives me nuts that happened last period with your friends. 6 minus, what's that other y coordinate?
-2.
Not 2. That's not what I'm writing. What was the other y coordinate? Darn it, then it's -2. What's it going to become? +2. Watch out for that. All right? You subtract the whole. If you just do 6 minus 2, no. The y coordinate was -2. So write it. And then you'll see, oh, that's +2. Watch out for the negatives. They're tricky. All right, let's keep grinding. What do I get underneath this parenthesis? -2 minus 6. -8 squared. Positive. And I should always get positives out here. 6 plus 2, 8. 8 squared. There we go. We're all good. You don't take the square root until the very end. Add them together. 64 and 64. $1.28. Directions are simplest radical form, right? So I need to start checking. I'll do this with you. I need to start checking perfect squares that go into 128. Some of you may see this already and don't need a calculator. Ready? I know, 4. So 128 divided by 4. Goes in evenly, right? Everyone see my calc up there? Goes in evenly. Don't get crazy. 4 is not it. Why not? There's going to be probably something bigger. Okay? You got to pick the biggest one. It doesn't work if you just pick the first one you come across, the biggest one. Let's go 16, right? Want to check 16? 128 divided by 16. Ooh, that works. I'm getting excited. It might be that. You got to keep checking. Got to keep checking. All right, until you hit something. Let's see. What else do I have? 128. 25 is definitely not working. 36. Nope. What other one? 32. I would if that was a perfect square. 64. Ooh, 2. That's a pretty low number. I'm pretty sure that works. Plus, did anybody see the work we just did? 64 and 64. Sorry, you guys didn't see that. 64 times 2. All right, so what's the length of RS? 8 radical 2. I think you guys can handle this on the first day. Hopefully I'm not overloading you. How you know you picked the biggest perfect square? The second one, there is no perfect square that goes into the second radical. Right? Anybody, is there a perfect square that goes into 2?
No.
But go back to my calculator. Remember when I did divided by 4? What did I get for an answer? Is there a perfect square that goes into 32? You're not done. Is there a perfect square that goes into 8? You're not done. That's how you can tell. That second number you write underneath the radical, if there's a perfect square that still goes in it, you didn't find the biggest one to begin with. So if that's something you want to remember. Anything here, because I'm going to let you guys go on this next one once I start it with you. All right, let's see what we got. Ben and Kate's house. They're going to draw a map of their neighborhood. Before we start, can we just say somebody's got some free time? Cool kids here? I used to do that when I was little. Okay. Okay. My opinion stays the same. You have too much free time. Okay. How far apart are they? Now, I want how far apart are they in yards, not units, yards. All right, and every unit represents 100 yards. So first thing I need from somebody before I let you go on your own, what's Ben and what Kate's house, coordinates of each, please. Let's start with 25. What's Ben's house?
700, 200.
Whoa, where'd the 7 come from?
Oh, 6.
6, 2. Now, already he did the 100s. All right, that's fine. You can do it before you do the distance formula. Apply the 100 to each. So instead of 6, 2, do 600, 200. Or if you rather deal with smaller numbers, apply the 100 at the very end when you find the distance. And what's Kate's house? And then I'll let you go. 23, what's Kate's house?
-2, -4.
Good. Okay, so apply the 100s now, or find the distance and then apply the 100. Your call. Watch out for the darn negatives. I'll walk around and see how you do.
I didn't know.
We had to show more work and had to adjust.
Okay, here we go. If we're struggling here, we know where to find me. I'm not going to do the 100. I'm just going to do it the numbers here. Some of you guys still forgetting the negative sign. 6 minus -2. 6 minus -2 squared. Then you do your y's. 2 minus -4 squared. This turns into plus, so I get 8. 8 squared is 64. This turns into plus. 6 squared is 36. $100 equal to 10. The distance between their houses is 10 units. 10 units, but in yards, I multiply that by 100, 1,000 yards. And since we are in honors, if your problem has units, so does your final answer, yards. Okay. Questions there? Okay, I'm moving on. This problem I don't do in my regular geometry class. This is an honors level problem. Okay, this is an honors level problem right here. I'm asking for the value of n, and I give you point P and point Q, and then look what I added on this time. What's this telling you right now? That statement alone is telling me what? 24. What equals 13? Which is no line segment symbol above, so that's talking about the distance of it. Yes, the distance, right? That's talking about the distance. All right, so I'm using the distance formula. PQ equals x2 minus x1 squared. It's going to get heavy in here. Buckle up. Where's the 13 going? Where do I put the 13? The distance. I'm not putting it underneath the radical. 13 is the distance, so I'm setting the radical equal to 13. All right, here we go. Pick off the x coordinates of P and Q. X coordinates of P and Q. 20,
sorry.
It's all right.
N minus 7.
X coordinates. You're rattled.
N minus 4n.
Okay, ready? 4n minus 3n. Everyone all right? Those are the x coordinates. All squared. Ask away because the y coordinates are going to blow your mind now. Any questions on 4n minus 3n? You ready to do the y's now? All right. Give me one y coordinate right now. I know I'm going to subtract both of them, but I only want one y coordinate at the moment. Give me one. 15.
N minus 7.
Okay. Thank you. Minus the other y coordinate, which is 7. What's the other y coordinate?
N plus 5.
Okay. So everybody stop. Pencils down. N minus 7 minus the other y coordinate, which was what?
N plus 5.
That's incorrect. Not his response, but how I wrote it. What's the only thing I'm subtracting? What's the only thing I'm subtracting right now? The n. Aren't I supposed to subtract the entire y coordinate?
Yes.
What was the entire y coordinate again?
N plus 5.
So I right now I'm just subtracting n. I need to show you that I'm subtracting the entire y coordinate. All right? Just not a piece of it. I'm subtracting the entire thing. And let's just do this right now while we're here. N minus 7, you guys remember back in the day, what do I need to do with that minus sign now? Distribute it, apply it to everything inside. So really, what's this going to look? I am going to do minus n, but it's not plus 5. It's minus 5. Yep. So you need to subtract the entire y coordinate, just not a portion of it. All right? You're going to have a problem similar like this on homework, and you're not skipping it, not putting a question mark around it. We got it. We all good? Oh, we're not even close to done here. That was just a little sniff of the tough part. All right, let's keep going. 13. What do you get in the first parenthesis? That's not my issue. What's in the first parenthesis? Here we go. 11, 4n minus 3n.
You're going to get n.
And then I square it and get?
N.
Yep. No issues? All right, help me out in this second parenthesis now. Combining my like terms. Who's up here? 16, n minus n. See ya! They're going. Negative 7 minus 5. Squared. Oh, boy. Plus or minus? Always plus. I get 12 out. Negative 12 squared, 144. Oh, boy. Now, what's our goal here, by the way, other than cry? Solve for what? N, right? Solve for n. So I need to get that n all by itself. There's a lot around it right now. There's a 144, a squared, and a square root around it. Even if you're wrong, who cares? You're taking a guess. I respect that. What do you think would be maybe a next move to get n by itself? And I know I'm going to get a lot of answers here. All right, some may be right, some may be wrong. Maybe second week would be a good time to start. And of course, I don't have that. I'm not even going to try. Name?
Max.
Max. Go ahead, Max.
Subtract 144.
Not yet. Can't do it. Here's why. Because it's still underneath the radical. There's a hint because it's still underneath the radical. I can't get rid of the 144 because it's underneath the radical. Name? Sorry.
Bridger.
What's it?
Bridger.
Bridget. Sorry. Go ahead.
Right. Well, you calculate the radical. You get 12 and.
Okay. So you want to take the square root of each of them?
Yeah.
Because they're being added together, I cannot do that. Okay. They are. I cannot take. That's a common thing. A lot of kids were going to say was take the square root and get n plus 12. That's not equal. Okay. Sorry. They're not equal when there's a plus sign in between here. Name? Chris, go ahead.
Square both sides.
Get rid of the radical. Thank you. Get rid of the radical so then I can do what?
Subtract.
Okay, so get rid of the radical, square both sides. get rid of the radical. You cannot take the square root of both of them. So this will give me 169 n squared. All you're doing is getting rid of the radical. You're not touching what's inside. Now what, Max?
You subtract 144.
Now I get the 144 over. I'll move this over here now. We got 25. And finally, Pietro.
Put a radical over that n. I mean, over the 25.
Well, you
Over
got to do
yeah.
both. Yep.
Yeah.
N equals
5.
That was a journey.
too bad we're not at the finish line. And I get it. You guys never think of this because it has nothing. Because usually you guys are doing word problems, and usually these answers are never acceptable in word problems. But I just took the square root of a number. I get positive 5. And I should also get out what? The negative version. Now look, we're dealing with coordinates, aren't we? N is part of, can you have a negative coordinate? So you can have a negative n value. So what I'm trying to get is it could be 5 or negative 5. Usually you don't even sniff the negative answer because it doesn't make sense in a problem. But here we're talking XY coordinates and it does. And yes, if anybody's wondering, you can leave that as your final answer if you want. Before we pack up, there's a type of problem just like this on homework. We don't skip it. We don't put one of these. All right. We go back to our packet. We look at this problem tonight and say, all right, let me compare it and how I could start and finish it. Not done. Look at the bottom of your packet. There's specific directions I want that aren't in the textbook. Like the first problem you do tonight. How are you going to leave your answer? Darn it, you're going to leave it in simplest radical form. 31. Take a look up here, please, so there's zero confusion. You're going to find, all right, great, how long it is from the base to the top of the mountain. Don't get confused. Look at the top of the mountain. That's not 3 coordinates. What's the x coordinate? 0. And the y coordinate is 12,633. I get, oh, everyone comes back the next day. How can you have 3, what is it, x, y, z? No, stop being embarrassing. The y coordinate is 12,633. Down at the base, what's the x coordinate? 23,525. And what's the y? We all good? And I ask you to leave your answer in what? Not in that one. Miles, right? Miles. Hey, there's your hint. Because this is all in feet right now. There's the miles conversion for you. So leave your answer in miles. Good? Okay. We'll get back to it tomorrow. Do not give up on the challenging ones. Compass.